Good morning. This is Chris with CodeChris.com. Thank you for watching, liking, and subscribing. And this is another behind the scenes, just me thinking out loud. Now, if you're curious and you've been following the last couple days or whatever the case is, you know that I've been writing down just what it is I'm going to be doing, the tweaks, and this whole process for this rebranding myself, as well as getting into a specific animation niche on the web, and on top of all that, combining it within actual tutorials and eventually setting up a monetization platform of some kind. Now, with all that being said, there's a lot of investment time, a lot of investment work, and my time is limited. So, I'm also trying to balance this whole YouTube thing as it is. So, Trello, if you are not familiar with, is a very popular platform, a very popular tool that's used by a lot of developers and a bunch of other people. And what Trello does is it gives you cards, and you can go ahead and just, mark your ideas, checklists, etc. inside these cards. It makes it easy to organize things. For me, it was very helpful because I have a bunch of just giant categories: the 12 principles of animation, Canvas, WebGL, Maya Blender, SVGs, GSAP, all that stuff, right? And so it kind of helped me just kind of start grouping things together inside of there, attaching links to things I need for reference, or for anything that is going to be related to a code pen that I'm building or need to build, or whatever the case is, right? So a lot of stuff going on, and I need to keep track of it all, right? Not only that, but I'll be working on some parts that are different and kind of spread out. So what I decided to do was take a green label and label the things that I'm going to be working on right now, focused on. Those are the things you do, okay? Nothing else matters in the background. Those are your other goals. Those are your other things. You'll get to them eventually. But before you can do any of that, here's the things you need to start off with. Here's the foundation you need to start from and build from. Okay, and this is basically, I've kind of discovered is going to be these three things are probably the most important. The first one is going to be these 12 principles of animation. It's going to be the very first thing I talk about, probably the most important thing I talk about, and it is going to be the foundation by which I am able to start the groundwork for how these will not be traditional tutorials, and how specifically I'm approaching it is going to be a little bit different than other developers because of my background. So there's that. The next thing is, because I'm messing with a lot of different technology, and there's a lot of things that it's going to be new to me, or just not polished, or whatever the case is, and there's a lot of exploration that still needs to go into it, because it is an untapped resource, and that's what I'm going to try and get across within this new niche that I'm trying to explore with web animation. It's just that the animation side of the internet is really an untapped resource, and the creativity we can do is really limitless, and there's a lot of really cool things you can do. And it ranges not just from the canvas, not just from SVGs, but a combination of using different things. And anyways, so one thing I thought would be helpful is giving myself a small challenge. It also creates some sort of not marketing, but some sort of just little thing to reference, right? It's practice for me. I'm practicing in the morning anyways. I'm learning in the morning anyways. I'm going through material in the morning anyways. I'm doing all these things anyways. Why not just do a quick little sample thing that is just cool, and then later I can go ahead and pull from it for some of these other things, hopefully. Right? Hopefully that's the goal. So with that, I figure that'll be the 30-day web animation challenge. I need a better hashtag, so if you have a better hashtag than 30-day web animation challenge, that would be helpful. So that's one thing. And with that, I need to pick a start date. And what I would like to have is, I would like to have it so that that particular 30 days coincides with either overlapping or ending with the release of my new stuff, right? Trying to get more attention to me, more attention to the work. Should it go to my website? Well, website has to be ready, right? So there's all these kinds of things, but once again, it's only 30 days. Once again, kind of not a big deal on the internet right now, so nobody cares if you go to the website, it's not up to date or whatever the case is, right? So there's that idea. Also, instead, I know I've actually said, like, well, if you need to if you're procrastinating for a start date, then just do it now, right? Procrastination's bad. And the only reason why is because I'm not doing it immediately now, is because the next few days I'm going to be out of town. We're going to be in and out of town, and there's gonna be a lot of driving and commute time. I don't know what kind of access I'll have to the computer, how the internet. There's a lot of just questions that really it's just smarter if I just wait until, because I know my schedule for after that. So at the very least, maybe, or the soonest I could do it is maybe next week. So it's not a bad idea. I'll just put that date down. Anyways, the next thing is the updates. Like my code Chris, right? I need to update that website. So this involves a lot of things, right? We're talking about a new logo. We're talking about a website redesign. And depending on how that structure is, that can be a very involved process. Or I can take the approach of doing it in sprints, doing it in pieces that can be updated in segments. So that's an idea. So that essentially I can get the soonest working piece up and running, and then that's there, good to go. And I can allow myself the ability to add on to it later without it interfering with the overall site. It's a question. It's basically one of the most common issues with web development, right? You've got a deadline, but you've also got things that need to show, things that can show later, and all that stuff. So these are all the basic. If this was a client for any other website, it's the exact same issues you would normally face. So for right now, I think the important thing is for me to figure out exactly what it is I'm going to do about that design, about that layout, and what it is I'm trying to communicate. There's some cool things I want. There's some cool techniques I would like to incorporate. There's some interesting ideas, but the question really becomes, what do I need, and what's going to communicate what I need to communicate. So, and does that involve me drawing some stuff on top of all of that? So there's a lot going on. But anyways, I thought I would just point out this whole thing and what's going on with that. As far as why you might see things like starter video versus advanced videos, it's because what I am thinking in my head, and this is not set in stone, but these starter videos, essentially, they are necessary. They are just important. And these aren't necessarily like... what's going to be different is I'm not going to be going through intentionally any sort of like, okay, this is what a variable is. Okay, this is what a loop is. Like, my hope is that you will come into these things knowing something of the basics, right? And if not, you can follow along and it kind of starts sticking. It kind of starts making sense. But my goal is really much more on the theory side of things. It's much more about the overall idea, the overall principles, the overall how you approach things, as opposed to just this is how you do things. Okay, that's what's going to be very different. Once again, I'm coming from an animation approach, so it is going to be different input than it's normally given. So with that, I need to really make sure that I'm focusing on there's certain videos that, when we're talking about SVGs, there's some things we need to discuss, right? We need to talk about the basics, just a basic drawn animated line, an illustration, exporting from Illustrator. There are some technical things we need to know, but some of this stuff is very much before I can get into some really advanced ideas or things. I need to make sure that people at least understand what they need to do in order to, before I can start getting into like an animated character, I need to know that you understand the principles of animation. I need to know that you understand how the canvas works and what the difference is between, using CSS animations versus JavaScript, and how we can balance the two, and all that stuff, right? These are all not technical, but they are sort of higher level theory things, and they can be debated and they can be discussed and talked about. And that's kind of what I'm hoping to do. I'm hoping to encourage the idea of thought and discussion around web animation and around how things are presented online. And with all of that, I think it would be helpful for us to have certain, just a sort of baseline. Anyways, so that's what I'm thinking. Thank you for watching. This is Chris with CodeChris.com. If you have any ideas or thoughts or feedback, please let me know. Also, really, 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 really would be helpful if you have a better idea for a hashtag instead of 30-day web animation challenge, because it's very long, it's very lengthy, and I'm not really a Twitter hashtag guy. So if you can help out, I'd appreciate it. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.